What's up, baby bards? I'm Anne Richmond, aka Hearthsinger, the head bard in charge around these parts, and today we're going to be taking a dive head first into my favorite third-party tabletop RPG tools. The first tool that I want to feature is RollTwenty. It's a virtual tabletop. You may have already heard of them, and they have worked very hard to meet the demands of a post-pandemic world. And by that I mean that they've added more capacity for running games in systems that aren't Dungeons and Dragons during this time. They've also continued to support independent artists who release maps and tokens and all sorts of different tools like spell templates and stuff on their platform and in their marketplace. And if you're somebody who loves running pre-written adventures, you can actually buy the adventure directly through RollTwenty, and not only will you have everything that comes in the book, but you will have pre-supported maps with dynamic lighting. You'll have tokens and handouts, everything you need to create an immersive experience. I love using their audio features so that I can play music and sounds while I'm running games. It is super cool. I love it for game prep. It is my chosen virtual tabletop, and I suggest you check it out. It has changed a lot over the years. When it first came out a long time ago, we're talking years ago, it's not that I wasn't impressed, I was just really overwhelmed by the UI of it, and I found it kind of hard to get into, but coming back to it again after a while, I have found that they have done a lot to improve the user experience, so you're going to have to put some time into it, but it is well worth it. They've also, in the past year, released a bunch of new table safety features. I will link to an article that tells you all about them below, but there's an X card feature, they have lines and veils. They worked with Evil Hat as well to expand a more robust set of options. There's script change, which provides things like pause, fast forward, rewind, all ways to communicate with your game master or your storyteller as you go about what your needs are to stay safely having fun and telling stories with your friends. Those tools make it well worth using this platform for me as a dungeon master. I feel so much more confident giving my players those tools to make sure that they're able to communicate with me in a way that they're comfortable with as we play, not just, before and after the session. Yarrow Studios are my favorite tabletop gaming map makers. They started out with a successful Kickstarter in 2019 of 2 giant tomes full of sci-fi and fantasy maps. So I own both of those, and they've since released this Infinidungeon scroll where you can roll your adventurers through an entire dungeon that's already laid out. It's like the ultimate fog of war experience. You can connect it up with the book volumes as well to make doors in that dungeon expand into the dungeons from the volumes. And each of the Infinidungeon scrolls comes, I think, with like a 10-page adventure as well. So I love what they do. They also come with like little stickers that you can customize the different dungeon areas with. You can add like arcane sigils or bushes or rocks or boats. I mean, all sorts of cool stuff in there to kind of bring the setting to life when it comes to combat. I've actually been chatting with the folks from Yarrow Studios ever since I got back from PAX Unplugged and got to see the Infinidungeon scrolls in person because I really want to do a feature on this channel, so they will be sending one to me, and that is not that far down the pipeline of videos from here. So make sure you like this video and you subscribe so you don't miss it when it comes out. And in the meantime, if you are interested in purchasing a map tome for yourself, you can head over to their website, which I will link below, and use code Richmond at checkout for 50% off. The other thing that you'll find there in the store is that for every physical map that they also have a digital equivalent. So if you buy the physical map, then they'll just send you the digital files that go with it. But you could also just buy the digital files if you are working wholly on a virtual tabletop at this point. So Sirenscape is a tool that lets you build sound sets with music and ambiance all into different scenes for your tabletop game. game. So you do have to log in via the browser to pull the different sets that you either buy or subscribe to on their platform. And then if you put in a little extra time before you sit down to play, you can build out all the different environments you think they might be in, or even special encounter combat music. I did one recently where I had like a crocodile attack and then a really cool town ambiance and swamp ambiance. And I will tell you that yes, it is for my players, but being able to sit down, easily access, and start, fading in these different circumstantial sort of scene settings that we hear really helps me settle in as the dungeon master, because I am now tethered to what feels like the reality of a world, the vibe check of a world, if you will, as my players rain down chaos around me. And I really find that to be comforting and help steer me through the story. Next up, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I love the D&D Beyond Encounter Builder. Yes, it is still in beta, but whether I am adjusting a pre-written campaign to be for a different level, or I'm testing out something homebrew that I want to run for people, I love this encounter builder. It lets me see an estimate of whether it's going to be an easy, a moderate, or a hard, or a deadly encounter based on the people that are loaded into our campaign in D&D Beyond, and it allows me to access my entire library of different monsters and NPCs for all of the encounters that they may find themselves in. So if you want to know more about it, I'm not going to go into it here because I did an entire video about it. I'll link it up here and in the info section. Go check it out. It's well worth your time to get into it. A few years ago at Origins Game Fair, I discovered Arcanite and their spell templates, and I have become addicted to these things. They give you circles, cones, burst damage, straight lines. It's really everything you need to figure out for your NPCs and your PCs at the table how far their spells will reach and who will get hit. There's no like arguing, oh, can I do it this way or that way? It's very easy to see who you're going to get in your line of fire. They do sell them in varieties specific to D&D or Pathfinder spells, but as long as they have the right measurement on them, you can really use them for anything that's relevant in your spell kit. So pick some up, you won't be sorry you did. Last but not least is the deck of stories from 1985 games. I picked these up at PAX Unplugged this year. These help me face my most harrowing challenges as a dungeon master, which are basically plotting one-shots and breaking through writer's block. So the way this deck of cards works is that each card falls into one of three categories in the orc system. That's orc for opening action, rising action, and closing action. I mean, how cute is that? So you can literally draw cards for inspiration in your game and put them together to create something pretty cool. So I've just done it right now. Let's see what we got. So the plot hook that I drew for opening action is a burned up cart riddled with arrows smolders on the side of the road. So it looks like this next card I drew could be either for opening or rising action, and it says, deep in the forest, you find a dark scene. Hooded figures chant around a statue. And then the card I drew that has closing action could be opening or closing action, and it says, in a forest glade, you come upon a ruined doorway. It hums with ancient magic. So you can see how I can just kind of take these and put together a session or a one-shot. At the bottom, it has little story hooks that say, like for the first one with the card, it says, is it a trap? Are there attackers nearby? On the second one, it says, is this a ritual to summon a great evil or perhaps keep it at bay? And for the last one, it says, are there tracks leading to it? How do you activate it? So it gives you the idea, and then if you want to have a little bit more plot hook inspiration for how you could implement that idea, the dark part at the bottom of the card starts to ask you questions that can help you along the way. So I actually love this. I think I'm 100% going to run this as a one-shot. So make sure you're subscribed to Patreon because maybe you'll get to play in it. I should note that the deck of stories comes in several different varieties, so you can build up your deck with lots of different goodies. They come in themes like gothic and jungle and hell and gears, so go ahead and check them out. They also come with NPC cards for when your party decides that they want to meet everyone in Neverwinter and you suddenly have to be an entire town. And that's it for now for my favorite third-party tabletop RPG tools. Please, of course, leave a comment with yours if I missed it. I'd love to hear about anything new that I can discover and explore. And we'll see you next week for another thrilling adventure. Bye! I should note that I can't tell you how to store all of this stuff if you do decide to go out there and get it, so best of luck with that. If you end up looking like the junk lady from Labyrinth, that one's kind of on you. Oh, battery is dead. That's probably fine. It's probably okay.